In this video, we will walk through a complete demonstration of CBR generation for a T&M project. Before we begin, please ensure that the project should be in approved states with active resource allocations, as this is a prerequisite for CBR generation. Since we have already covered project creation and the approval flow in the project creation and RNG video, we will now proceed with the CBR creation. So let us log in with PM. Okay, so we are logged in as PM. Now we'll go to my projects. And as we can see that we have already created a project, demo video project, which is of billing type T&M. So this is the T&M project. And now we'll go ahead and create a CBR for this project. So I'll click on the CBR tab. Now, when we click on the CBR tab, we see a search icon where we can search all the CBRs that the PM is going to generate by CBR ID or PRJSOWBO ID. We also have a filter by status where we can filter all the CBRs that the PM has raised through their different statuses. So all the statuses are all draft invoiced, pending for IM approval, pending submission by PM, invoicing instructions generated, ready for invoicing instructions. So the PM can filter out the CBRs from the grid based on the filter. Then the next option we have is download. So the entire details in the grid can be downloaded in the form of an Excel file through this download option. And the next option we have is customize table. So all the columns that we are seeing on this table can be customized using this customize option. So you can select or deselect any number of columns and personalize this as per your requirement. And since the grid that we are seeing is empty because we have not generated any CBRs for this project, so let us go ahead and click on generate CBR. As soon as we click on generate CBR, we are redirected to a different screen where we need to choose the CBR date range. So the CBR date range should always fall between the project planned start date and end date. So let us choose from 1st October to 17th October as the CBR date range. And the PRJS or WPO ID, since we have only one associated with the selected project, so there is only one option in the drop down. If you have multiple PRJS or WPO IDs associated with your project, then you have multiple options to select from, for which PRJS or WPO ID you want to go ahead and generate the CBR. And also there is a hyperlink which is resource allocated. So when you click on this hyperlink, all the resources which are allocated in this project can be seen here. The information is there on the screen, and you can also download this information by clicking on this download button. Now, as soon as we click on proceed button, a new screen will get opened, which will have 5 different tabs: overview, summary, invoicing horizontal view, invoicing vertical view, and non-billable time cards. So the first one is overview. So the overview tab have all the details about the CBRs which we are going to generate. So the first tab is first section is CBR details. So here we are seeing the CBR ID is auto-generated by the system. The CBR date range is what we have chosen. That PRJS or WPO ID is also the chosen one. And since we are generating the CBR today, so the CBR generated date is also mentioned, which is 31st of October. The PO line item is 1, and the total hours will be fetched once we select the resources and allocate hours and come to an invoicing amount. Then the next section we have is project details, which will have all the project details for which we are going to create the CBR. And then the last section is current CBR financial details. So in this section, you will see the amount for which we are going to raise the CBR. So as you can see, 5,000 is the total PRJS or WPO amount, and the CBR current billable amount is 0 since we haven't entered any resource time card details here. So the billable amount is 0, but as soon as we fill the required information, this will be auto calculated. And we cannot raise a CBR greater than the total PRJS or WPO amount. So the total that we have for the CBR billable amount should always be less than the total PRGS or WPO amount. Okay, going to the next tab, which is summary. So the details on the summary tab is not available for now because we haven't entered any time card details for any of the resources which are mapped to this project. So this entry is blank for now. So let us go to the next tab and see how we can create invoicing time cards. So this is the horizontal view where we can see all the resources which are allocated in this project for CBR creation. Now, if you want to fill in the details for all the resources for the selected date range, we can do that by clicking on Create Invoicing Time Cards. So let's click on Create Invoicing Time Cards. So now there is a new slider menu which will open, which will have the following fields. So we need to choose one start date. So the start date will always be in the CBR date range we have chosen. So let's choose it for the CBR date range. Then the resource name. So we can also choose the resource name for which we need to generate the time card. So let's choose Sumit as the resource name, and the actual bill rate that we have chosen while the resource allocation will be pre-filled here. And the task type category will be billable since this is a billable resource and the project is also billable. So the task type category will be billable work. And the work hours was entered when we create a project initially, but you can also alter the number of work hours. So since we have chosen 8 as the worked hours when we were creating this project, so it has defaulted to 8, but we also have an option to change it while generating the CBR. So let's mark this as 6. And based on the selected work hours, and the selected date range, the total invoicing amount will be calculated for the selected resource. So if we click on discard, this entire time card entry will be discarded and we need to start afresh. If we click on save, then as we can see at the bottom, all the time card details will be entered for this selected resource. So we can see that for the selected CBR date range, the required hours are filled in. And depending upon the actual bill rate and the total hours, the current CBR billable amount is also calculated. Now the next window we have is invoicing vertical view. So all the details for this selected resource will be shown in vertical view. So you can just have a look at all the information. So date wise, this information is available. And the last tab is non-billable time card. So if the PM want to raise a CBR for any billable resource for any non-billable task, this can be done here. But since we have not added any non-billable tasks for the resources, so the entries in this table is empty. Now going back to summary screens. So previously there was no entry on the summary screen because we haven't created any invoicing time card for any of the resources. But now since we have created it, so we can see that this summary is also visible here, that for this particular resource, this is the actual bill rate and this is the total number of timesheet hours. And based on that, the CBR billable amount is calculated. Okay, going back to the overview tab. Now here also previously the CBR billable amount was 0, but now since we have calculated it, the CBR billable amount is auto-filled and cannot be changed, so it is already calculated in the background. Here we have an option to save the CBR or submit it directly to IM for approval. So the PM can save the CBR and can submit it later to IM for CBR approval or can straight away submit it. And after saving the CBR, if the CBR is still in draft status and IM has not approved this can also be discarded by PM. So let us now straight away submit this CBR. Are you sure want to submit? We'll click on yes. Okay, let's enter project manager comments. This is mandatory, and also we need to fill in an attachment, which is also mandatory. Now here we can see that the CBR is successfully submitted. Now I'll generate one more CBR for a different date range. So if you have selected if you have created one CBR for a selected date range, that you cannot generate another CBR for the same date range using the same PRJS or WPO ID. So I'll again click on generate CBR button and we'll create one more CBR. So let's choose the same date range we have chosen for the previous CBR and using the same PRJS or WPO ID. So it will not allow us to proceed further because we have already created one CBR using the same date range. So we can choose a different date range now. So let's take it from 20th till yesterday's date. And PRJS WPO's ID is again auto selected. Let's click on proceed. I will quickly fill in all the required information and we can submit the CBR. The process will be similar, which we have just followed. So I will attach one document. Now we'll go to invoicing horizontal view where we'll create a invoicing time card. Let's keep the work task as 8 only and we'll click on save. So the time card entry is auto generated and the CBR amount is also calculated for the selected resource. And this can be viewed in vertical view and as well as on summary screen. And since we have filled in all the information, we can again go back to overview tab. And here also the CBR billable amount got populated and we can submit the CBR again. Since we have submitted the second CBR as well successfully, so now we can see both the entries in the table and the status will be pending for IM approval. So both these CBRs will be now set to IM for approval. So let's log in as IM. So while creating SOWPOs, whatever invoicing manager, invoicing approver you are tagging into that SOWPO, that will be your IM and IA, and those will be used for approving your CPRs and invoicing instructions generation and approvals. So I have used Pooja Kesri as my invoicing manager while I was creating the SOWPO using the project. So let us log in with Pooja Kesri as the invoicing manager. As soon as I am logged in with the invoicing manager, this is the landing dashboard. I will click on the left-hand navigation panel. We do have an option called actions. Let's click on actions and then CBR approvals. So all the CBRs which are in this IM's bucket for approval will be listed down in this table. We can also search here with CBR ID or the project ID in this grid, and we can download this grid as well in the form of Excel file and similarly customize the grid as well depending upon our requirement of the column names we want to have. Okay, so for the project that we have just raised the CBRs, we are seeing the first two entries as our CBRs. So let us click on the first one. Let's open it. So as soon as IM clicks on any of the CBR, all the CBR details will be available in read-only mode. Let's see through all the tabs. And the CBR date range will also be mentioned. Here we have the timeline for the CBR generation. So this is now in IM's queue for approval. And also we can see download button. So we can download this complete information. So when you click on download, it will give you which all tabs you want to download, all overview, summary, invoicing view, or non-billable time cards. So depending upon which information you need, you can just select the options and click on export, and all the information will be downloaded in the format of Excel file. If you're going ahead with all the options, then the Excel file will have different tabs showing different information. So for now, let us click on discard. Now the next option we have is view full project details. So on clicking on this view full project details, IM will be redirected to the complete details of the project for all the tabs. If you want to check anything, this can be done through the project details, and we can go on back, will take us back again to the CBR view of IM. Now, IM also has an option to send back the CBR to PM. So if the IM feels like some information needs to be altered, this can be sent back to PM, and the PM needs to fill in all the required information which needs to be changed and can resubmit this back to invoicing manager. For now, let us go and click on approve and approve this CBR. And as soon as we enter approval comments and click on approved, we can see that the CBR is approved successfully. And this is also removed from the IMS bucket for CBR approval. Now let us go inside the second CBR and approve it in the similar way. All the details are similar. We'll just click on approve and approve it. So both the CBRs that the PM has generated and sent for IM's approval is now approved. Now we'll again click on the Nifty navigation menu, and here we do have a separate section, CBR invoicing instructions. So let's click on CBR invoicing instructions. So on the landing page, we have two tabs. One is CBR tab and one is invoicing instructions tab. So the CBR tabs will have all the details about the CBRs that have been generated with different statuses. We can also search through the CBRs through CBR ID, project ID, SOW, PO ID, or customer name. And we can also filter by CBR status. So any of the status which IM wants to view the CBRs for, he can just choose it and view the filtered CBRs. Okay, so the CBRs we have just approved. As you can see, since they have been approved, we can see the status has been changed to ready for invoicing instructions. So now these CBRs can be used for generating invoicing instructions.